Hello and welcome to our NPQEL introductory briefing. I'm joined today by Simon Lockwood, lead NPQEL facilitator, who I'll hand over to now. You can get things started whenever you're ready, Simon.
Thank you, Hamish. Welcome everybody, and thanks for choosing the Outstanding Leaders Partnership for your NPQEL. We have in this third cohort around 34 candidates, and we'll be running this group centrally from Birmingham. I'm Simon Lockwood, as Hamish said, and I currently am the lead facilitator for NPQEL. It's an exciting prospect for everyone embarking on this new qualification with us. NPQEL is part of a professional group of qualifications which are designed and delivered by the Outstanding Leaders Partnership together with Best Practice Network. The qualification does have to meet DFE reform requirements and also quality and accountability measures set by the department. OLP has a very positive NPQ track record built over the last 6 years, and we work hard to maintain the quality of provision and depth of learning we have established, and we're very proud to be working together with you all in this third EL intake, which has been refined with the feedback and support of the first 2 cohorts. We want colleagues taking the EL qualification to be even better leaders than when they started, so that you not only gain the qualification, but achieve career ambitions and, more importantly, have an impact on the education and learning of all those in the system, children and adults alike. We want you to focus on your continuing learning, on the development of your schools and organisations, and to apply your leadership experience and learning to the future growth and positive development of what is a fast-moving and diverse education system. It's our aim, through you, to add value to the system and to the success of our children and young people. The team working with you over the year will include a number of online tutors led by Phil Naylor, who's our lead online learning specialist. His role focuses on quality and development of online support and tutor effectiveness. You'll be working with Hamish McLean, our online course coordinator, and Yvonne Gandhi, who is the NPQ program lead for all the programs. Her role focuses on quality, design, development, and national delivery of qualifications. There's me, of course, and I've been introduced. And we're all supported by Tom, Gemma, and Joanna, our operations team at Best Practice Network. This session of slides will support you in getting ready for the EL qualification and provide a starting point to familiarise you with who we are, what we stand for, what the qualification looks like in practice, and hopefully give you a brief insight into connecting with Canvas, our online platform. You will not need to remember everything from this session, as this recording will be available on Canvas to look at again. The residential in March will also give you opportunity to unpick and unpack the qualification context in greater depth. Best Practice Network is the DFE's accredited provider and the leadership and management arm of Outstanding Leaders Partnership. Best Practice Network is accountable for the quality and standard of all OLP provision. OLP is a national partnership which comprises of 3 main leading schools and academies: Aspire Academies Trust in the South, LEAD Academies Trust in the Midlands, and the Dean Trust in the North. It is supported strategically by a school-led trust board with delivery partner hub representatives from across the country. We have over 60 delivery partner hubs nationally, made up of mainstream schools, teaching school alliances, academies, and independent schools and faith trusts. OLP has a national and international reach, with a significant number of applications made each academic year in the autumn and spring terms for our programs. The partnership is values driven and our commitment to these values is embedded in all programs seeking to improve learning throughout the fast evolving education system. In summary, it's about getting it right for our candidates and supporting the development and direction of quality professional qualifications for leaders that have positive impacts for learners in schools. We pride ourselves on the way in which we provide a personal and professionally supportive process and practice. Our values are underpinned by the characteristics on this slide, on which the design, development, and delivery of programs are based. We will provide a range of different opportunities which include these signature characteristics, whilst keeping an eye on the balance between gaining the qualification and doing the day job as a very important reality check. The direction of the executive leader qualification and its evaluation will be guided by these characteristics, as well as by the expectations and measures set out by the Department for Education. Completing this qualification will not be easy. This is a demanding program with a lot of hard work and has several challenging components which we will look at during this presentation. However, the ability to communicate ideas and engage in learning through and with diverse groups of leaders has been cited by colleagues as a central success factor in the development of personal leadership skills and behaviours. In particular, the role of the peer group challenge in this programme has been commented on by the first cohort as a significant support and challenge to personal learning. I know you will develop your leadership and learning over the next 12 months, and that a large number of you will confirm or gain executive roles during and following the qualification development stage. All colleagues going to final assessment will pass, in our view. I have mentioned that the DFE have set out clear and measurable expectations to meet for this qualification. Please note in this slide metrics 4, 5, and 6. These are important measures and are a major commitment on our part, and we work hard to support you in your learning experience to ensure that high levels of achievement and positive feedback are met. These outcomes, together with our programme characteristics, contribute to the quality and ambition we have for every candidate, to impact on your successful leadership learning and its effective application in your schools, as well as gaining the qualification as a standard of study and leadership practice. The qualification is designed around 6 content areas, which have specific learn how to and learn about requirements and associated assessment criteria. Alongside these, there are the 7 behaviours which the DFE have identified, all of which are planned for and made explicit within the qualifications design. Each of the content areas have a number of assessment criteria aligned to them, and at this startup stage, it is critical you recognise the importance of aligning these criteria with the leadership project work you will undertake and submit a final assessment. You must cover all the criteria that are linked to each of these 6 areas. The 7 behaviours and a number of master's level skills are also embedded into the qualification and will be critical in your interaction with other candidates, your online tutors, coaches, and facilitators, who will all be supporting you on your leadership development journey. The 6 content areas of the qualification have been structured into 3 core online courses: Strategy and Improvement, Teaching and Curriculum Excellence, and Managing Resources and Risks. Each of the courses has 4 modules, and we have built the assessment criteria for the other content areas into this structure, covering leading with impact, increasing capability, and working in partnership. This module framework is the same for all the NPQ qualifications to ensure some synergy and a clear journey between the different qualifications from middle leadership to executive leadership. The context shift for each qualification assures that each is credible, coherent, consistent, and challenging, supporting your learning and development as leaders in schools. The online study is supported by face-to-face events, which focus on the application of learning involving work-based and enrichment practice, higher level behavior and skill interaction as part of a blended learning approach. This diagram gives us the qualification and what it looks like overall. It's not the most sophisticated diagram, and we're working on another version to give you at the first residential day. Its delivery is made up of three main parts. At the top, you can see there is self-directed learning. This will be the learning that is down to you, working on your own, working online, working with your colleagues and tutors. The second section is the facilitated learning in blue. So these are the events and the online courses that are important to your development. And in the darker blue at the bottom are the enrichment activities. Extra activities that are provided by OLP and best practice to support your learning, but generally remain optional. This all goes on across a 12-month period from the point at which your application was accepted. The final submission of assessments falls after this time within the 12 to 18-month period, and you have three opportunities at 12 months, 15 months, and 18 months. But I need to emphasize several times that we would prefer the 18-month window to be used for emergencies, illness, and breaks in learning, that we expect most people to submit at the 12 or 15-month period. Let's look in detail at each stage of this model. At the heart of the qualification are the three online courses and their associated core tasks. These courses are a rich diet of material and discussion, and we recommend that you work through each one selectively, focusing on the tasks, the core tasks, and your particular interests, along with any learning gaps you identify through your 360 diagnostic and through your leadership practice. Our experience so far is that people go back to these online courses recognizing issues that are actually occurring within the context of their organizations so that they can apply the learning to the work that they're doing in schools. At the face-to-face events, we facilitate an exploration of your ideas and their application to leadership. We look at how you can best develop these by comparing experience and challenging group thinking, and we give you the opportunity to network and to learn from each other. There is an obvious focus through the program on the assessment outcomes in the two assessed leadership projects. However, the overall learning in the program is greater than just these two tasks, and we encourage you to see them as part of the rich application of your learning to the context of your role and your career. Indeed, much of the feedback from Cohort 1 identified the many ways candidates involved others from their schools in the models they were learning about and the ideas they had picked up from the program. The assessment projects are carefully staged with regular deadlines for developmental feedback to support your work on them. Getting the learning right for your context and circumstance is critical. Everyone on the course has different pressures and expectations to deal with. We ensure that we can provide the right support to help you align the learning with your very busy working lives, recognizing the stresses, pressures, and crises that can regularly disrupt your learning on the program. Therefore, you need to set a clear timescale and commitment to the journey to ensure the qualification and its delivery components provide outcomes that you need, as well as meeting the demands of the qualification. Utilize your leadership strengths. Know your leadership areas for improvement. Recognize where best the course can support you. We will provide a significant amount of guidance material and support online. The journey will be challenging. This is about becoming better leaders as well as gaining a qualification. The key parts of these components. You have the 360 diagnostic. This is a work-based peer feedback at the start and end of the qualification, aligned to the content requirements and providing a 360-degree feedback on your leadership strengths and areas for development. This is a starting point for identifying the learning that you would like to undertake. The face-to-face events consist of tailored practice tasks, guest speakers, group networking, and self-managed group learning interaction, supporting powerful dialogue and learning. The online courses, as I mentioned before, consist each of 4 modules and core tasks, covering the 3 main courses. Content includes up-to-date accounts of practice, insights aligned to master's level thinking, and theory taken from a range of education and business practice scenarios. The Peer Challenge Group is a self-managed group of up to 4 leaders acting as a critical reference point for powerful conversation, challenge, feedback, progress, and online task completion. We recommend working in groups of 4 because this provides you with the energy and momentum where only 2 people tend not to work as well. Peer challenge groups support and contribute to the design, implementation, and evaluation of each individual improvement project across several schools. You are provided with 6 hours of individual coaching. This is focused on improving leadership learning and performance, professional goal setting, and leadership skills and behavior development. This can be seen in the breakdown of the hours expected in your study. You're not required to attend the head-led webinars. They are there for you to dip into as an enrichment activity. And I would recommend many of the speakers. They give very important insights into the practice of executive leadership. Working at level 7 does mean we look to challenge your thinking and getting you to challenge and support each other in your learning. We will provide a list of level 7 learning expectations to ensure that work is undertaken to reach master's expectations. And our work with Liverpool Hope University has been around a year in development, and now they're able to take your work on this program and convert it to 60 points within their master's, their MBA in education. You'll get more information available on this as the course develops. Let's look at the assessment activities in detail. You will receive separate briefings across the year about assessment and your projects for submission. We recommend you read early and reread as you go through the program the Candidate and Sponsor Assessment Guidance Handbook, which is already up on Canvas and which clearly states expectations and submission requirements. It's important that you absorb this presentation, read the guidance and all the associated program guides ahead of the first residential event so that we can focus on a clear understanding of the program based on your reading. You'll find within the guidance all the criteria applied for assessment, and whilst quite wordy, you will become familiar with their expectations over the year. This slide outlines the requirements for Project Task 1, the design of a sustainable business strategy for a multi-school organisation. This project works well because it is contextual to your own role and schools, but challenges you to extend your reach, possibly to a wider group of schools, or to review and rethink your approach to development planning, taking into account the ways complex educational organisations are evolving, the business methodology that they're beginning to pick up and use, and the balance between all the supporting features of an organisation that enable learning to take place effectively. Indeed, for both projects, there are three distinct phases of development: design, including research, implementation, and evaluation. The timescales are there to provide a guide and structure in order to align compliance and assessment criteria expectations. There are requirements for submitting support material. In this first project, the sustainable plan is not the outcome of the assessment, but how you went about its development, who you involved, how it was disseminated, and your evaluation of the plan and its construction process. It is not expected that the implementation or the impact of the plan itself is evaluated, because this might be over 3 to 5 years, but this is focusing on the process of creating it. You will be required to have an audio recording and transcript, which includes feedback from your presentation to governors or other stakeholders. This is the formal piece of evidence to support your submission, though you also have the option of submitting 3 other pieces of evidence, one of which we recommend is the plan itself. This assessment project is a set piece of work with a common theme for all candidates. You'll need to show your work has addressed all criteria in 5 of the content areas of the qualification: strategy and improvement, leading with impact, working in partnership, managing resources and risks, increasing capability. There will be deadlines for submitting outline evaluations or planning as you go along. So each of the project phases, design, implementation, and evaluation, has a submission date just for feedback. It is not for final assessment, it is for stages of feedback. This gives us an idea that you're working within the time constraints of the project, but also gives you the opportunity to test out some of your thinking and the discussions you have had with your sponsors and get feedback from your online tutor. Task 2 works in a similar way, but its themes are different. This school improvement project is very different from the NPQH homeschool task, which is focused on one school. Whilst it's important to acknowledge that executive leaders often don't get involved in detailed school improvement work, there is clearly a role to explore in enabling those who do and ensuring that the principles and strategic intent on which your group of schools is founded are upheld and have an impact on learners. This project is also an opportunity to get involved in a very different group of schools, those of your colleagues on the programme, and to be able to challenge and share expertise across schools. Agreement to carry out this project with partner schools will be critical to its success. The expected scenario is that individual participants negotiate their project through collaboration with schools in his or her peer challenge group. We thought long and hard about the nature of this task, and the experience of cohort 1 has given us faith that the challenge of working with schools outside your own area is well worth the energy and time to overcome any logistical complexities such as travel and refine projects that impact on and benefit the schools as well as yourselves. Any project chosen for a group of schools must be appropriate to the needs in those schools, must be beneficial to learners, and demonstrate the effective school-to-school interactions and supports as you plumb the expertise that exists in all those schools. You'll need to show how your work has addressed all criteria in 4 of the content areas: strategy and improvement, teaching and curriculum excellence, leading with impact, and working in partnership. Along with the DFE mark scheme, there is an assessment guide which clearly identifies expectations for each piece of work. This I've mentioned before, but it's always worth repeating and emphasizing the importance of this guide. This slide provides an overview of the requirements for the NPQEL qualification, a summary of what is expected of participants. Additionally, support and clarification is given with regular assessment online briefings to develop your awareness and emphasize expectations for compliance and final assessment. There are 2. The insight into assessment will be put up on Canvas soon after your first residential event. And then later, towards the final residential event, there will be a briefing on assessment readiness. Our dates for this cohort are on this slide. And please note the times that we start and finish each day. It's important to us that a good crisp start to a day's event and a good crisp end to a day's event help with the learning. It is very difficult to maintain good energy within a group of people when people arrive late, though of course traffic does take its toll on journeys, or when people need to leave early, which can be disruptive to the learning in a group. The online courses have a fixed 4-week window when the core tasks are active and you have interaction with your online tutor. Best Practice Network makes every effort to provide at least 2 weeks reading time ahead of the start of each course, and longer if the course is close to a holiday period. So you have extra time to explore the materials and readings ahead of the course dates. Our face-to-face events are booked to take place in the Park Regis Hotel, Broad Street, Birmingham, but details of this will be sent to you later on. You'll need to establish good habits in contacting and setting dates with your coach, and this will be for the individual 6 hourly coaching sessions. Here you have your appointment windows, and hopefully your coach will be in touch with you fairly early in the program to establish the relationship that you wish to have. The assessment dates have not yet been fully confirmed, but they will be confirmed fairly soon. But essentially, window 1 is at the 12-month point. That is 12 months from the acceptance of your application, which was 2 or 3 weeks ago. Window 2 is at 15 months, and window 3 is at 18 months. But remember what I said earlier, window 3 we like to keep for any candidate who has had disruption to their learning, or whose role or family life or personal life has had a setback which has demanded extra time. I'll now hand over to Hamish to look at the online access and the online learning process. Hamish.
Thank you, Simon. So I'm just going to provide a brief insight here to the Canvas VLE, just to reassure colleagues that this briefing will be further supported by a Canvas with Confidence specific recording, which will look at Canvas in a lot more depth. It will act as a walkthrough guide for you to help you get to grips with the VLE and prepare for your day one events. So firstly, I just wanted to point out the bottom left item on the slide is your Learning Network community. So this is your course that you'll have first access to on Canvas. It is your resource and information hub for your NPQEL qualification. It's where you can find all your key dates, all your training event resources, and all of the assessment information, guidance, and templates that Simon has alluded to earlier. We will provide a walkthrough of that community in great detail in the Canvas with Confidence briefing recording, so I won't spend too much time on it now. The next item, moving along to the right, will be the 3 facilitated online courses. So these are distinctly sort of separate course spaces from your learning network. You will receive access to those 3 courses at key points throughout the course schedule, roughly 2 to 3 weeks before the anticipated facilitated windows. You will be working through those online courses as part of a collaborative study group with between 20 to 25 peers. And the idea being that those facilitated windows is when you should be looking to engage, as you will be challenging and supporting each other's learning inside those window dates, with the added support and challenge from your online tutor there as well. As we've mentioned earlier, the bulk of your assessment supporting information and guidance is going to be provided to you via the Canvas VLE. In particular, the bulk of that will be within your learning network. There is an assessment section in your learning network which will provide links to the 2 assessment briefing recordings that Simon has alluded to, as well as a myriad of supporting templates, assignments, and example submissions to assist you with completing your own projects and your assessment write-ups. Briefly, before we move on to the next slide, I just want to highlight the 360 diagnostic. This is a nice assignment that you'll be tasked with as one of your first activities on the Canvas VLE. That is a self and a peer review, so we'd advise that you leave at least 2 weeks for completion of that. You will need to run through the questions yourself, doing a self-review, and then you'll need to identify a minimum of 3 colleagues who can also undertake the review on your behalf. Now, we would recommend identifying probably around about 6 or so colleagues, ideally from a range of positions, as the different relationship types in the diagnostic do have discrete questions attached to them. So you will get a full report by identifying a range of reviewers who can complete that review on your behalf. Once you and 3 minimum have completed that review, you can actually generate your report, and then you can treat that as a bit of a baseline for your further development throughout the qualification. And then if you wish, you can repeat that diagnostic at the tail end of the qualification as a nice record of how far you've come and how far you've developed over the duration of your NPQ. Now, the 5th point on the slide is the e-portfolio. I'm not going to provide too much insight to that now. Just know that that is the vehicle that you will be using to actually submit your final assessment write-ups and supporting information. There will be full guidance provided on how the e-portfolio works and how you make your submissions to it, but that is covered a lot later on in the course as we approach the first assessment window. All you need to know is that full guidance is provided on that tool, and it is accessed via your Canvas VLE. So in a nutshell, just a little brief insight into Canvas and what you can find on there. As mentioned earlier, you will be fully supported in your online journey with this Canvas with Confidence briefing recording and several other shorter briefings designed to be released just before key elements of online study, including an online course engagement principles video, which will really help you guys get to grips with how, when, and why you should be working through each of those online courses at the appropriate juncture in your schedule. So, Simon, back to you at this point.
Thank you, Hamish. That's very useful. Let's take a look at the residential days or the face-to-face days in a little more detail. Day one focuses on you and the qualification, your skills, behaviours and competences, the more personal aspects of becoming or being an executive leader, and the details of the programme that you're engaging with, clarifying any issues you may raise with how the programme works. Day two moves into the examination of the nature of modern and emerging educational organisations, their structures, their processes, their complex relationships, and the drive and energy required to ensure visions and values, strategic intent, flow well across an organisation with many schools in it. Day three gets you to focus on the development of planning systems across schools, especially with business concerns included as part of the complexity of maintaining an overview across your schools, alongside the need to prompt detailed thinking and planning within those schools. There's a lot on the relationships you hold with your staff and the way you provide the services and support to those schools. Day four is particularly pertinent and serendipitous at the moment, as it focuses on the current debate on the nature of what goes on inside schools, how curriculums are shaped and delivered, and how the quality of education is determined and measured. Remember that in all these days, the focus is on what is the role of the executive leader? How do you both get involved and stand apart? How do you communicate and shape the thinking and the strategic intent of these complex organizations? How do you gather the thinking from staff, from leaders within different schools, and bring it all together to mutual benefit? Day five is the first day of the second residential, and it starts to look at the more solid business issues of a complex school organization. So governance, the management of the workforce, the administration across many schools, and the financing and other services like HR and workforce development. So we pick into, or we delve into various aspects of those issues across the organization. At the heart is the key and increasing political concern over the last few years. How well do we deliver high quality education with value for money? How do we even measure value for money? How well do we safeguard the public purse and assure our communities and the tax-paying public that we do this with integrity, with probity, with honesty and trust? Day six continues this theme and looks at the growing business science of gauging risk, preventing negative influences on our schools and mitigating against them if they happen. A lot of the last day is also spent considering your learning over the period of the programme and your readiness for submitting the assessment projects. We see these assessments as a necessary part of the qualification, of course. And one of our KPIs is to achieve 90% submission rates in each cohort. However, they are also a way of celebrating the nature of your learning on the programme, of showing your understanding of how you have applied key ideas to the contexts in which you work, evaluating your learning and reflecting on how well the qualification has prepared you for developing your career and becoming instrumental in the emergence of a successful school-centered system of education. The first residential event is in March, is coming up. You need to walk away from this experience being clear about your personal learning pathway and the timescales and pressures ahead of you on the programme. You'll need to be able to articulate your leadership strengths and development needs, putting them into the context of your workplace, the NPQEL qualification, and your own preferences for learning. You'll need to be aware of the challenges and emotional experience of the programme. Whilst we often recognise the importance of an emotional response to learning by young people, we often try to avoid the same as adults. Yet this is the kind of self-challenge that we want to highlight. The first two cohorts have clearly demonstrated the phases of Tuckman's model of forming, storming, norming, and performing. This is a demanding, highly experiential programme. You will interact with your colleagues and facilitators, and we hope, remain open to ideas and critical thinking, and commit to the experience, the learning experience on the emotional as well as the intellectual level. Reminders and other information will be available prior to the event through Canvas. You'll need to prepare for the event, and pre-event tasks will be posted on Canvas around 2 weeks ahead. Outcomes of the diagnostic will need to be available. There is also a section in Canvas which identifies which other materials you should bring with you. You will receive confirmation, joining instructions, and pre-task reminders sent through Canvas. But of course, you'll also be getting onto Canvas before that. So the invitations, as Hamish said, to join Canvas and to learn about how the online tools work will be coming very soon. Thank you for listening to this briefing. It's important that you take it in your stride, that you think carefully about the programme, and you look at all the materials that are available to you to moving forward. I look forward to meeting you all at the first residential and to working with you over the next year. If you have any questions based on this presentation, please store them up either for the first residential or put them to our CPD team at Best Practice Network. Here is the phone number and the email address. We will field your questions and get back to you as soon as we can. Thank you very much for listening, and good luck for the next year's study.